Well, good morning to you. It's Scott Picken, the CEO and founder of the Global Wealth Group, and I want to bring you this weekly wealth insight. Look at this magnificent view behind me. Well, today is all about diversification. Now, it's really interesting because as a simple term, we all get it. You know, there's that English proverb, don't put all your eggs in one basket. You know, you don't want to be walking around with a basket with all your eggs and trip, the basket falls and all your eggs break. Now, we get the concept, but when it comes to investing and when it comes to finance, it can get quite a lot more complicated, and specifically when it comes to your financial planning, how do you actually do it? Now, what's quite interesting is that Ray Dalio, who in my opinion is one of the most respected people in the world in terms of global money and finance and investment, and quite frankly, in my opinion, the best person to follow globally. And he says that during this COVID pandemic, the number one thing that investors should be doing is diversifying across countries, across currencies, across assets, and across partners. He also goes on further, if you want to get more complicated, to say that you need to make 15 quality bets in uncorrelated assets that don't move in tandem. And if you do that, you'll reduce the risk by 80% and increase the risk return ratio by a factor of 5. Now, if you've got no idea what I've just said, I get it. And this is the whole reason that the financial industry is such a problem to most people, because they take very simple things and they're overcomplicated. And because of that, we all feel insecure. We all feel like we're not doing what we need to do. So let's look at some scenarios. The first scenario is I was talking to someone this week and he owns a home and he went to his financial advisor, and his financial advisor said, before you start investing anywhere, you should pay down your mortgage. Okay, now let's look at that. Well, in simple terms, he is 100% exposed to a weakening South African economy. He is also very exposed to a volatile rand that has statistically for the last 30 years lost 6% on average per year against the US dollar. Not to mention that he's in one asset and he doesn't even have a partner because he's sleeping in his house, and therefore he's not making any money while he sleeps. Let's take a second scenario. Someone tries to diversify. They fly to London and they want to buy an apartment in London. Let's say a cheap apartment in London now is £500,000. If they get a 60% mortgage from the bank, it's called loan to value. That means they're having to put in 40% cash plus the costs. They're going to be in for about £225,000, which is about $300,000. So they've got $300,000. All of their capital is now in one asset. And so are they diversified? Well, you know, just like in scenario one, literally the gentleman had all his eggs in one basket. Now they've got most of their eggs in one basket because they've got most of their money tied up in one country, one currency, one asset, and they're only dealing with one partner. So they'll get a rental management company and they'll go and put a tenant in, and 100% of the income relies on one person. And if that person leaves or the management agent's not good, then they will get no return. Take a third scenario. In 2014, I started investing in medical buildings in America with a partner on the ground. In the beginning, the returns were fantastic. However, I've always believed in not putting all my eggs in one basket, so I never continued to invest all my money with that one partner. That partner now, and some investors thought, well, these returns are so great, you know, it's just going to continue to be wonderful. But that partner now, due to COVID and a number of other reasons, is struggling. They've got a number of vacancies. They're not paying their rental income on many properties in their portfolio. They no longer are producing an income. And so, you know, the investors are exposed because, again, if you look at the concept, they've got 100% of their money or their assets are in one country, 100% are in one asset, 100% are in one currency, and 100% is with one partner. And so again, using the metaphor is that in scenario one, all the eggs were in one basket. In scenario two, you could argue that they had two baskets. But in scenario three, even though they've got a number of different assets, they're all in one basket and they have one partner carrying the basket. And if that partner falls over, all the eggs break. So how do you follow Ray Dalio? How do you copy Ray Dalio's principles? He's the wealthiest man and runs the largest hedge fund in the world in this space. And believe it or not, with technology, it's actually possible. With a platform like Migrate, you can now invest safely and simply and follow Ray Dalio's principles. You know, their mission is to make quality alternative assets available to anyone, anywhere, from any amount. So let's take that same scenario. If you just take $100,000. If you take $100,000 and you invest in 10 different assets, in 10 different kind of countries, currencies, and partners, you're truly much more diversified. If 2 of those out of the 10 opportunities stop paying rent for some reason, then you've reduced your risk, because 8 of them are still performing. 8 out of 10 are still performing. You've reduced your risk by 80%. There's no correlation between the assets, and they cannot move in tandem. And because you're dealing with multiple different partners, you dramatically decrease the risk, but you also increase the risk-return ratio by a factor of 5. That means you're 5 times better off. And what I find absolutely fascinating when I consider just my last 12 months, because funny enough, I've made 10 investments in the last 12 months, and I've made them on 9 different assets. Okay, so 9 different asset classes. I've made it in 4 different countries. I've made it in 4 different currencies. And on top of that, I've done it with 9 different partners. And this has all been on the Wealth Migrate platform, where I've got access to quality partners and quality opportunities. And the other thing that I find interesting is if you look at my weighted average return across all of those assets, all of those partners in all the different currencies and countries, I have a 14% internal rate of return. And so I look at it from a diversification perspective, and I say, do you want all your eggs in one basket? Do you have all your eggs in one basket? And I believe that the world has changed. I believe that the mindset has to shift. It's no longer about just owning your own home or flying overseas and buying an apartment or trusting one partner and investing all your money with one partner. Do you know that over the last 12 months, 25% of all capital raised in America for real estate or property was done through online platforms? The world is changing. Technology is opening up the opportunities, and you truly have the ability now to invest like the wealthiest people in the world. All it takes from you is a change of mindset. That's today's Weekly Wealth Insight. Subscribe to the channel. I know it was a long one, but it's one that I am truly, truly, truly passionate about. And again, we bring these Weekly Wealth Insights out every single Friday. The philosophy is to inspire people, to give them access to knowledge, to give them the belief that they too can create the wealth and the freedom that they want in their life. And if you believe this was of value, share it with your friends and your peers. You know, my purpose is to inspire people, and we want to empower 1 billion people. We cannot do it on our own, and I look forward to your help. Till next week, see you. Cheers. One thing I just want to make very clear, because a couple of people probably listened to that and they thought, well, you know, I don't have $100,000, or I don't have $1 million, or I don't have $10 million. You can literally start from $100. You can follow the exact same strategy from $100. And therefore, whether you got $100, $1,000, $1 million, or $10 million, you too can invest like Ray Dalio and get the results that Ray Dalio is getting for the wealthiest people around the world.